Hey there, fellow stylists. My name is Julie Klein. I'm a Matrix educator and also part of the Matrix National Training Team. And today, a friend of mine, Jennifer Lanis, got on a video and tagged me. She asked if I would explain what Lightener was chemically doing to alter hair. And I was like, okay, well, don't threaten me with a good time. I will certainly do it for you, Jennifer Lanis. And I hope this information that we share today will help you make better decisions behind the chair, more purposeful decisions, and guide you in what you're doing when you're using Lightener. I know some of us have never really been taught that stuff, so it's good to know. So let's get started. Okay, here we go. First, two things I want to tell you. One, everything in the video today is going to be backwards. I can't claim that I am super techie, and it's a one-woman show today. So hopefully that won't be a problem for you, but it'll be backwards. Second thing is, if chemistry or the word chemistry kind of freaks you out, numbs you out, scares you, or I don't know, just you don't like it, I get it. Don't worry, we're going to have fun. We're going to make those big topics, we're going to break them down to simple things and make them understandable and fun. So hopefully you're good with that. So first thing we want to know when we're working with Lightener is, what the heck is in this thing, right? What is it made of? There's a lot that can be in your can of Lightener or tube of Lightener or whatever that you use. But there's just a couple of things that are main things you need to understand that are in here. Okay, so there's three main things that we need to think about when we think about Lighteners. The first thing is in your can, and it's called an alkalizer. So hopefully you can, I know it's backwards, alkalizer. So, and what's the purpose of an alkalizer? I know that word is familiar to you guys, right? Of course, brings us back to the pH days, hair school. So here we have about a 4.5 to 5.5 hair sits on the pH scale here. Anything that we put on hair that's higher than that in the pH scale will swell it. Okay, so when we hit past 7, those are called alkaline. So they're going to swell the hair even more. So if I have this little hair strand here, and I put something on this hair strand that's like an 8, so it will swell the hair just slightly. But if I put something like a permanent hair color on there that's like a 9.5 to a 10.5, there's a range, that permanent hair color will swell the hair even more. But if I put a lightener on that hair, the lightener sits in about a 10.5, 11.5, sometimes 12. They're getting up there these days. It will really swell that hair. The purpose is because we've got to go deep inside this cortex here and go to work. So our alkalizer is going to swell that hair. The second thing the alkalizer does is it tells this guy right here, our developer, all right, dude, it's time to go to work. It tells it, you can work now, and this is how long you can work. So two purposes of that alkalizer. The second thing that's in this can is called persulfate salts. I don't know if you can read that either, but you got it, persulfate salts, right? So what are those? Those are an inorganic salt that is got the ability to break down an organic substance. Hair is an organic substance. So there's 3 kinds of persulfate salts. First one is potassium persulfate. That's one of the most effective out of all 3. They're all effective, but potassium is like number 1. Second is ammonium persulfate. And the third is sodium persulfate. So there's 3 kinds. Now, most likely in your can or your tube, there's going to be a combination of more than 1 kind. I know in mine, the first one is potassium persulfate. So awesome. I know it's going to work really well. So the persulfates, second main thing. So in here, alkalizers and persulfate salts. Cool. That's the alkaline that you need. Now we have something called oxidizing agent. That's our peroxide. And it sits on the pH scale. I don't know if most people don't remember this, but it sits on the acidic side. And the reason it does is as soon as you have an acid mixed with an alkaline, there's a reaction that happens. So this guy right here, the alkalizer, is the activator for this guy. And this guy, the oxidizing agent, has gas. That's what it got. It releases the gas. 20 volume has a medium amount of gas. 30 volume, more gas. 40, whew, lot of gas. 10 volume, ooh, slow and steady. Good. So 3 things we got to remember. The lightener, it has alkalizing agent to swell that hair and to tell this guy it's time to go. The second thing is for sulfate salts, that's the guy that's breaking down what we need to break down in the hair. And this guy right here is the releasing the gas, the go-go juice to help those persulfates do their job. So that's what you got to know about what's in a lightener. The third part we got to work on is, or second part, I guess it's the second part. Second part, what happens when you put it on hair? What does it do? Couple of things, couple of reminders before we dive into what happens to the hair strand when we put the lightener on it. A couple of reminders about the hair strand itself, okay? Because that's important. Here's my hair strand. This, by the way, was a brilliant idea by my friend Lisa Enos. She's a cosmetology instructor in Georgia and a good friend of mine. She's amazing, but she is brilliant to come up with this visual. So if you love it and you want to use it, kudos to you and kudos to Lisa. Give her a shout out. She did an amazing job. Okay, so fill you in on this hair strand. Couple things you got to remember. 70 to 90% of this hair strand is protein. It's mostly protein, right? Keratin protein, amino acids. That's what we're dealing with hair strand. Second thing is pigment is only about 1% of what's in here. And that's what we're going after, right? We're going after the melanin. We're trying to change it when we're using lightener, or we're trying to, affect that artificial dye. We cannot avoid affecting the protein. Third thing about the hair strand, and most of us did not learn this in hair school because it's a newer discovery, I guess you could say, and it's called something called intercellular cement. So think about rubber cement. It's not solid, it's not liquid, and it's got that pliability to it. Within the cuticle layers is something called intercellular cement. So it's almost like an accordion, like it helps when it swells, it kind of helps pull back together, and it swells, pulls back together. It's a protective layer of the hair strand. So as soon as we put lightener on this hair strand, it will affect all of those, not just the melanin or the artificial pigment that we're going after. Good? Okay, now we're ready to put our lightener on our hair strand. It's mixed with our developer. We're ready to go. So we put it on our hair strand, and what happens? Chemically, what's happening? So the reaction is happening. And here's kind of how you can keep it in your brain. It's degrading, it's fracturing, it's dissolving, whatever's in its path. So I think my brain, likes visuals or things like that. I think of a Roomba vacuum, right? As soon as you turn it on, it just goes and it does its job. The job of a lightener is to degrade, to break down. And I kind of visualize it like this. So here's my lightener. Ta-da. And then here is something, it says melanin. I know you can't see it, but it says melanin. I was trying to be fancy. So this is what happens when lightener and melanin come in contact with each other. The lightener starts to dissolve or break down the melanin, the intracellular cement, the protein in hair. It also does the same thing to an artificial dye. Here we go. It doesn't matter if it's pigment, artificial dye, whatever is in its path, it's dissolving, it's breaking down. That's so cool. Can you see the film on there? That's pretty neat. So when we have melanin in the hair, inside the hair shaft, we've got our melanin, and it's in, this is just a little visual, but it's in something that's round called, I can never say this word, melanocyte. Oh, that's an awful way. Hold on. I think I'm going to get it. Melanocytes. There it is. Okay. So these are called melanocytes. And inside the melanocytes is the melanin. As soon as your lightener gets on that hair strand, it's dissolving everything. It dissolves that melanocyte. And then the pigment, the melanin, it bursts open and it bursts inside the hair strand. And then it starts to do the dissolving of all that melanin. So let's say you have a hair strand that's at a level 4. And as soon as you put that lightener on that level 4, you see a different color, right? You see something that looks like that. Here's what's happening. The melanin is getting dissolved. So when the light hits the melanin before lightener gets on it, you see a level 4. As soon as the lightener gets on there, it's dissolving, it's breaking down the chemical structure of the hair. So that when the light comes in and hits that hair strand, it's no longer going to reflect in the same way because it's a different chemical structure. If you leave the lightener on the hair, it's going to break it down even more. So then you're going to start to see, from your reds, you're going to start to see your brown reds, you're going to see your reds. So again, it broke it down more, it broke that chemical structure down more. The light came and hit it, and it reflected a whole nother color. So then you leave the lightener on even longer. Then it goes down to your golds. Same idea. If you leave the lightener on, it's going to break that down into smaller and smaller and smaller fragments till all you have left is a reflection of yellow, deep yellow, light yellow, pale yellow, depending on the ratio of melanin that was inside that personal hair strand. So lightener is not necessarily removing anything from the hair. It actually is not removing anything from the hair. When it goes on the hair doesn't have melanin come out of it and go down the sink. Same thing with artificial pigment. It doesn't take it out. Here's something that I think most of us don't understand because we say lift or remove so much in our industry, but reality is once melanin is here or artificial pigment is in here, it doesn't leave it. It can get broken down small enough so your eye and my eye can't see it, or we see a whole nother color, but it will never come out. Even when you look at a hair strand that you put lightener on and you don't see that like maybe artificial pigment that you put on there, it's still there. You just can't see it anymore. Same thing with melanin. Melanin doesn't just go away. It's in there. It's just so small, our eyes can no longer see it. So when it comes to removal or lightening, all we can do is one of two things. We can change the color that it is, or two, we can change the structure by breaking the structure down with lightener, or there are other products on the market. They're removal products, but they come about in a different way. They're not dissolving the hair or the melanin in the way that lightener does. I hope that explanation helps you understand what is in your lightener and what happens when lightener gets put on the hair. What's chemically happening? If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My Instagram handle is at Colors with Chemistry. I am not a chemist, although I do love the chemistry of what we work with because I feel like it helps me make better choices behind the chair, but I do learn with and from chemists in our business. So I hope to hear from you. I hope to see you out in the field, and thanks for letting me share today. Bye. Thanks, Jennifer Lannis. Bye.